Okay, I have 8:30. At this time, I will call the April 11th meeting of the West Memphis Utility Commission to order. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the March 14th meeting. Thank you all received them in your packet.
Make a motion that we approve.
Motion by Mr. Holmes, second by Mrs. Brown. Any additions or deletions? All in favor? All opposed? The minutes are approved. Next item is the March safety report.
Good morning, all. Morning. Okay. We are currently 113 days without lost time injury and 114 since our last recordable, and goose eggs for the year for recordables and incident rate, which is good. I will say we've had a couple of first aid incidents with hand injuries. Folks had gloves on and got cut through their gloves, cut all the way through their gloves, with sharp utensils and glass too. March training. I'm just going to go and tell you, this was kind of a reactive topic. We had a contractor doing some work here for us, and they had an incident on a fixed ladder. So, try to be progressive about it, and sometimes we need to back up and be reactive after we have it with something. So, total ladder safety and some unsafe actions when using ladders is one of the common causes. I mean, standing on top step of a step ladder or even a extension ladder, I know people have done it, you've seen it done, and I actually saw it in a video yesterday of someone standing on the very top rung of a ladder. So, and then one of the biggest things is not inspecting, any equipment, especially a ladder. If you're going to climb up it, just make sure that everything's intact and it's in good shape, and then not using it correctly. You pick a ladder that's too short, step ladder or something, you need that extra oomph, and you're going to step up on that top step just to get it instead of coming down and getting another ladder. And then stability. And then some safe work practices there. You got to understand the kind of ladder that you're using and its limitations. And then again, one of the biggest ones, never step on the top step. And reaching out and grabbing something or climbing up the ladder with something in your hands. I mean, I'm sure there's folks in here, myself included, guilty of doing all that. So just, in other words, there's proper ways to work with a ladder and utilize it, and just got to be aware that a lot of the other things that we may do can cause accidents, incidents, and some serious injuries. But inspection and so not carrying things, not stepping up too high, or misusing the ladder for its intended purpose. So other than that, that's all I've got. Anybody's got any questions?
Okay, thank you. Rings and bells, do things don't matter. Next item on the agenda, approval of tree trimming bids for 2024. And you have the bid sheet in your packets. Who's going to say something about this?
Well, I instinctively want to go with the cheapest, but do you guys have good references on these?
Yeah, so I'll let Mike talk a little bit. So we Gray's Power Supply was who, go ahead.
Okay, so you want to know about the tree trimming bid? You know what we're talking about now? You want to get it? Okay. Great Power Supply, was the one that normally got that bid, but he got outbid this year. A new company bidded on it, and me and Bob checked into them real good, and it seems like we got a cheap price and got a good company, and sometimes that's unusual. Actually, I would say this company is probably just a little better than Gray Power Supply work.
Where are they, here?
Olive Branch, Mississippi is where the base is.
Oh,
It's Dogwood Tree Service in Olive Branch. So that's one we went with.
We had concerns, we hadn't had experience with them before. So they were the low bid, so Mike reached out to them and we asked them to come in, they were in on Tuesday.
Right.
They came up to the commission on Tuesday and we wanted to talk to them about, we wanted to make sure that they were qualified to do line clearance trimming, that they weren't just a residential tree trimmer, but they were qualified to do line clearance trimming. And we talked to them, they showed us their safety plans, they showed us their tailboard forms, they talked to us about how they train all their employees to do line clearance trimming, they talked about the insulated tools that they have, they were extremely knowledgeable, they have an on-site safety man that stays on the job with them, so we were impressed, we were confident that they were experienced and they knew what they were doing. At that point, we told them since we don't have any experience with them, we'd like some references, so they gave us some contacts. Mike reached out to them, and I don't know if you want to talk about your.
Yeah, I talked to 3 different references that they put in. One guy says that's their home now. He said they'll never get rid of it. He said they just keep trimming and trimming, doing a better job every year. He said, so he's gonna try to keep half the crew. The man's got 50 people total. He got 35 climbers. That's unusual for a tree company to have that many people climbing trees. All his people have got years in with them. They're not new crew every day. You know, most tree trimming outfits, they got a different guy every day. He's got the same guys. He got guys who've been with him 10 or 12 years. So he doesn't, and they're all qualified. There's nobody out there that doesn't know how to drive and do the things they're supposed to do. So you don't have a big turnover, and it made a big difference to me. Everybody I talked to though said that one company had to let them go because they were downsizing. That's the reason they bidded us, because they were losing that city. They were trimmed it all, and they were gonna downsize because they had a money issue going on. So that's how we wound up with them. So actually, that's gonna be a good thing, I hope, because they were way cheaper than anybody else, and they had a good price, and they were a good company from what I can see, you know.
So we'll closely monitor them, and we'll make sure, anytime you get a new contractor that comes in, you want to make sure that you establish a baseline with them and what your expectations are. So we're going to do that, and we're going to ensure that they're trimming to our standards and that they're meeting all our requirements. And so we'll keep a close eye on it.
Yeah, they've got 18 pieces of equipment, so he's got plenty of equipment. He's got 2 giraffes, and most of them don't have that much equipment. Everyone I talked to them said they got way more equipment than they need, but they got it if they need it. That's what they do.
One breaks down, they gotta back it.
They told me that they rather have quality, not quantity of people. They said that's what they got. They don't hire just anybody.
and it's not a whole lot lower than what Grady's was.
You have to look at ABC and
Yeah, I
all them.
see all
I mean,
those.
they're $400,000 cheaper than the rest of them, except they, Michael Gray.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Okay, motion, Jerry Burns, Dogwood Tree Service, $661,128. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Scarborough, any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is the financial report.
Good morning, everyone. Do I need to be formally standing at the podium?
You may, or you can sit
I
right
can sit,
there.
okay.
What's comfortable for you?
I mean, this is gonna be really quick, so, as of the end of March, our revenue is up to about 8.4 million. We had other income of $130,395.32. The UT expenses came out to about 2.9 million. And, oh, that's for the, that's for like the utility, the different departments, and then with our 1411 accounts, our depreciation, that was about 2.2 million there. So that was a total of 5.2 million, which gives us a profit of 3.3 million. And that's all I
Another question.
have. Okay.
This 1,400 column over here,
Mhm.
what is, what type of?
Those are the appreciate, you said what type of expenses?
Well, it says electric is 230,461.69. For
Mhm.
what? Is that, that's not to purchase electricity, that's not for salaries, is it?
No.
What expense, what are those expenses?
You know what,
spent on?
I can get you like a report that shows what expenses.
Those are the depreciation accounts.
Right.
Okay, that's.
Which is
I just-
what,
I was
on
curious.
equipment?
I didn't know if you wanted to know
Equipment,
exactly what was
infrastructure,
coming out.
so capital units are
1,400
versus
versus 400, I realize
Mhm.
account
could be
numbers.
equipment.
I don't do that
Mhm.
myself,
So, I mean, that money's,
I'm not an accountant.
Yeah, those
expense,
are the
but it's not
depreciation
really
accounts. I just
going
didn't know if you
Right.
wanted to know exactly
No,
like what
I
came out of
Yes,
it.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
That's a red number?
It's not actually an expense.
That's a black number.
Gotcha.
that's why we separated it to a
That
separate
number's
account.
black, that's
It's not-
good.
That's
I'm
not
already happy.
expenses.
Gotcha.
So it comes off of our income numbers.
Mhm.
Because they were different.
But it's not considered income because it's depreciation, we're losing
Right,
value on all those
right.
assets.
Yeah.
But it's,
Is,
we still have the money.
Right.
is the depreciation of, like water, 1414, is our water depreciation not much greater than our electric?
Well, he said it also included not just equipment, but infrastructure.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, do you depreciate, you just bought a bunch of meters, do you depreciate those all in 1 year, or is that spread out?
No, I would say there's a depreciation schedule on, but I don't know if meters are capital units and they depreciate or not. I don't think they probably are. So we would only depreciate capital units, property, poles, stuff like that, so.
We don't need to approve this, do we?
I don't think so.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the AMI update.
Yeah, so Maria's at a conference today, and so just real quick, you can see we're gaining a little bit of steam on our water meters. So we still have, we're almost completed on our electric meter transition to the AMI. All that we have is just the commercial meters. Those are a little more challenging for us to change some of the meters. And, you know, as we've talked about before, the water meters are a challenge because those water meters have been in service for 40, 50 years. And so when they get out there, they have to do a fair amount of work to sometimes even get to them, replace the meter box and do some work like that. So we have contractors that are doing that. That's why the water meters are a little bit slower. One thing that we've noticed is it's not widespread, there's not a lot of it happening, but when we do change to the AMI meters are calibrated, they're much more accurate. And some of our customers are seeing a increase in their water bill, the water portion of their bill. And the reason for that is their other meters weren't accurate, and now we're accurately capturing what they're using. And so when we explain that to them, say, well, you can see we changed to a new meter here, and the usage went up. These meters are calibrated, they're calibrated regularly, so we're confident that the reads are accurate. You got a discount for a lot of years.
40-year-old car, a new car.
Yeah.
If it's mechanical, it's gonna fail, and it's gonna wear out,
Yes.
it's gonna get less and less efficient, accurate.
So it's just, and part of that is just an education process with our customers. You know, they get a big bill and they're unhappy about it.
Sure, thank you, I wanna know why.
I've noticed trucks and trailers at businesses with those blue meter bases on them or covers. And I said, they're hitting the commercials now. So, okay, any further questions? Next item is wastewater treatment plant update.
There he is.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Paul Holloway, I'm the wastewater superintendent, and we are making some improvements trying to comply with our consent order. West Memphis has a problem with I-9, which is rainwater getting into the sewer system. Causes us overflows, sewer overflows out of manholes, and causes me to bypass the treatment plant. So we were put under consent order, and about 2 years ago, we put forth the plan, and we're trying to enact that plan to reduce the I-9. We have lines of manholes, hundreds of them. We've done point repairs, which is taking out sections of line and putting in new. And we have cut back on the I&I, but we got a long way to go. So this is gonna be an ongoing thing for a few years. It's not a quick fix. So we have flow meters all over the city, and these flow meters tell us how good we are reducing the I&I. And go forward to the next one. Let's keep going forward.
Yeah, you're in the,
You're on,
we're in the wrong order.
that's
That's what
Catarina.
I was thinking.
You're supposed to be doing the lift station, correct?
Yes,
There you go.
that's it.
Hey, there we go.
Okay. We are currently untying our lift stations. West Memphis is kind of unique. We pump from station to station to station, which is very inefficient. We pump the hot water sometimes 7 times before it gets to the treatment plant. What you want to do, you want to pump it to a gravity sewer and let it flow by gravity to one station, then to us. But we don't have that. So what we're doing is this station here is station 4. We're going to rehab that station, and that takes it off of 6 and 7 and 1. Can you go back, Brett, to the other one? Yeah. Now that is station 3. That is over on Shopping Way. That's over by Walmart. This right here, where the station used to be, is a concrete slab. We tore it down, and we're gonna move that building on that concrete slab. And inside that building is two 125 horsepower motors that's gonna drive two T10 pumps. And it's gonna push through a 15-inch force main from Walmart all the way over the Rainer Road by Coca-Cola. So we're taking all of this water from these 2 basins off, and that will help on the I&I problem. Okay?
Is that retention pond there to the right at Walmart?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. Now, this is a sewer treatment plant. At the sewer treatment plant, we are building new clarifiers. And these clarifiers will allow us to go from a flow of 6.3 through the treatment plant to 18 million gallons, so we can push more flow through our treatment plant instead of putting this water in my retention pond. Y'all know I got a big pond down there, and that's why I put the excess water whenever it rains. Now, to quantify this, my flow to the treatment plant is 4.5 million gallons a day, dry weather. Today it rained 2 inches of rain, I'll get 30 million. It will go up that high. So that extra water I have to put in my pond. If I get rains back to back to back, like 3 days apart, my pond quickly fills up. If it fills up, I have no other choice but to bypass my treatment plant and send it straight to the Mississippi River without treatment. So these new clarifiers here are going to allow me to push more water through. This right here, they're building me a caisson to put my new pumps that pump out of my pond. So we're doing a lot of work down there. We got a lot more work to do. It's gonna be about a 2-year process to do everything we need to do to upgrade the treatment plant. Now, I think we're spending about $45 million down there to upgrade the sewer treatment plant, just to handle rainwater.
It doesn't need treatment.
Sir,
The rainwater doesn't need treatment.
we're gonna, once we get the new treatment plant, we will treat it.
Yes, sir.
Now, I added this in because I think Denise spoke on this last meeting. These are the new aerators they put in to my aeration basin to handle my increased load from Coca-Cola. I just want to add that in there. My aeration basin doesn't have enough capacity to handle the loading coming in, so they had to add those in to give me more air to take care of the loading. Now my new treatment plant, I'm gonna go from 550 horsepower, but I currently have for air capacity up to 900. So these will be taken out. So as everything gets to go forward, I'll be telling y'all what we're doing down here and how we're spending this money. Does anybody have any questions?
And for those of y'all that aren't here, before he came, we were always in trouble. He was a godsend. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Next item is streetlight assessment and repair.
Streetlight situation came about, and we went out, canvassed the whole town. One into the other, north and south, east and west. We came up with 172 lights that were either malfunctioning or out. Malfunctioning on normally was the bulb getting hot and cooling off and coming back on, going back off. We pretty much covered all those. We fixed 90 of those lights since that come about. But the problem we're running into now is we depleted our inventory. We changed the old heads. We're not putting, when the old head goes bad, we're changing them out to LEDs. And we can't afford to go over the whole city and just change them all of a sudden. So that's the way we're doing this. We put up what LEDs we had, and we ran out of those. We went back to changing bulbs and trying to get the lights working. At this time, we fixed about 90 of them. Now we're low on bulbs and everything. We'll end up with bulbs this week, because when it's raining like this, the minute it stops, we head out and start working on those lights, because they're on the street. But not all, I'd say we probably got 7,000 lights in this town, easy, probably more than that. So, you know, for it to be only 172, that's not a lot, but I guess what's in front of your house, it probably irritates you, and I understand that. But we're doing our best now to get them fixed, and the only problem is with anything we order, 12 to 16 weeks is the main saying, and it's usually 24 or more than that before we get it in. But we got the list, and when that stuff comes in, we'll get right back on it, changing the heads out, and try to stay ahead of it. That's about the only thing I can report on. That's how far along we are. We like basically from Wood Street on the south side and Broadway, all the way to Martin Luther King. The rest of it pretty much been handled. So, just took us a little while to do it. Go ahead.
Unrelated but similar, who is responsible for changing bulbs and traffic lights?
The meter department takes care of that. Mario.
So do you have some that are out? Do you know which some are out? Because
Two of them out on Broadway that I know of, one at Broadway and the two that I know of, there's two sets of lights, and it's one of the green lights that's out.
Okay.
And it's on Broadway, headed east. Or Clinton.
Normally, the police
I can't
department,
remember.
they report that.
Yeah, well,
You know
it's
what I'm
not,
saying?
I
But
figured.
they slowed down. They were giving me a list at night, you know, the guys out patrolling was giving me a list of street lights that were out. But they, like I told Bob when he brought this up, I said, well, I hadn't been getting a list from the police department. And I actually have asked some of them at the gas pump, you know, I said, man, y'all quit doing the street light thing. He said, not that many out when I'm out there, I don't know. So anyway, it wound up being 172.
I'll eyeball them and let you know.
172 out of 7,000.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
The thing of it is, right, it's a big issue, right? So, you know, one of the things, we want to make sure that all the street lights are working. So, and that's for two reasons. It's important to our citizens that all the street lights are working. And it also helps with crime prevention. So we want to do everything we can to facilitate that. Some of these lights, once we repair them, they're going to get shot out, and at that point then we will buy a bulletproof head and put that up there, and we'll just keep fixing them until they find someplace else to spend their time. There are some that we can't fix right away. So for example, there's a section of lights on the interstate here that are out right at 7th Street. And we have issues with the feed coming in. So we're working on getting the permits so that we can get a directional bore under the interstate so that we can get new cable put in so that we can pick those lights up. There's also a section of lights down on Broadway that are the same way. At the end of the day, we're gonna make sure, we're gonna keep at it till we get all the lights back working in the city. If we have traffic signals that are out, if you see those, just let us know and we'll get somebody out there to get those fixed right away. But
So the interstate lights, I've got a permit for the 24th of this month. We'll go out there at 9 o'clock, we have to be off at 5. So I've got a contractor that actually installed those lights and stuff that are gonna be out there with us. He seems to think it's all the connections are green, you know, the wires turn green and not making a good connection. Hard for me to believe that all of them went out one night, you know, and that's what the problem is, but he seems to think that's what it is. We bought new connectors to put those on. He's actually gonna do that, but if it's the heads or whatever else it is, the photo cell, we're gonna be there to change them. But in the LED, if it's not the photo cell or the feed, it's the head, so you have to change them out. We're gonna take heads with us and all that stuff, and when we can't get something to come on, it winds up being the head, we're gonna change them out. The 2 inside lanes, it's about $8,000 to block those off. So when you look out there and there's 2 lights off, it's not cost feasible to block those 2 lanes for $8,000 to go fix those 2 lights. Now, on Ford, where it's at, from Ingram to the split, that's been out for several years. The highway department worked on that median, that concrete divider, and damaged that. Foster Rash was still in charge when that happened. They assured him that they would go back and fix that at no cost to the city. But as the years went by, and kept getting pushed back, he retired, and the gentleman at the highway department retired. Well, now they're telling me since I took over that they don't feel like that's their responsibility. We got a quote, it's $250,000 to move that median, block those lanes and fix it. And for 6 or 7 lights, Todd and me agreed that's not worth it, you know, not for us, I mean. But this guy I got now, he's agreed to help me with that at about $43,000 a piece. So he's gonna help me with that, and I got a fault in front of Cracker Barrel. Yeah, I got a fault in front of Cracker Barrel, he's gonna have to fix that too. So after we get 7th Street to Ingram fixed, then we're gonna go right on to those 2 projects and get those knocked out too. That'll be another block the lane type of deal though, because we can't get out there. So, it's gonna be a little expensive, but that's the only way it's gonna take to fix it.
Extend the bill to the
Is there
highway
any-
department.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there any kind of equipment that's available that would negate the need to shut down that lane, or that's
Yeah,
still?
we hire a company, they put lanes, they block it, state troopers stops all the traffic, and they block that inside lane on both sides of that divider, and that's where we'll work, behind that divider.
So you can't get to it otherwise, no
You
matter
can't
what?
go out there, I mean, you can't walk out there. I don't know if you've
RDOT
ever walked out there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been out there when that traffic's going by, you don't want to be out there, I tell you.
I had a flat there one time.
Maybe we'll wait till the bridge gets open. Anything else?
I don't have
So
anything
we're
else, any
actively
more
working
questions?
on the streetlights and we're gonna keep at it.
All right,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Next item on the agenda is Big Cypress Solar Commission.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about that one a little bit. So, I don't know how familiar everyone is with Big Cypress. Do I need to go into what Big Cypress is? Yes, no, maybe? Yes, okay. Some folks are shaking their head, yes, some shouldn't. So Big Cypress is a solar facility that's in Terrell, Arkansas. And it's Terrell, I'm sorry.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, that's all hometown. It's
In Terrell?
Pearl,
Yeah.
Pearl now, that's
Pearl.
That's on
That's the
southern.
southern way to say it.
That's southern, yeah.
There you
You know, draw that
Pearl,
line.
that's,
If you're mad at them, you say Terrell.
I won't make that mistake. So NextEra Energy built this solar facility, and
basically how the deal is structured is, so Amazon is the owner of the facility, NextEra is part owner, and they're managing it. West Memphis Utilities, we're going to take 20 megawatts of solar capacity, so power, energy, out of that facility starting in 2026. The city of Jonesboro is going to take 60 megawatts, and then Amazon will take the rest. So that's significant for us because that's a 30-year deal? Yeah, it's a 30-year deal. So we know what our energy price for 20 megawatts of power is going to be for the next 30 years. So that's significant. That was one of the things that was relevant for the utilities. We wanted to be able to plan that. So if you, we're beginning to look for alternative sources of generation as I don't know if we've really talked about it, but the two coal-fired plants that we co-own, Independence and White Bluff, they're scheduled, so White Bluff is going to close first in 2028, and then Independence is going to close in 2030. So we need to find ways to replace that generation. Right now, the lowest cost replacement is solar, but there are problems with solar, right? It only works half the time, literally, because it's dark at night, right? And then there are specific problems. So in terms of the facility gets derated, for example, to put it into perspective. So in the summertime, we get 60 megawatts of capacity credit at that facility, and in the wintertime, we only get 6. So it's only about 10% of the capacity available in the wintertime because the sun is just in a different location. If you've been out there, the panels will track with the sun. So in the morning, they'll be facing north, and then as the day, like at noon, they'll be straight horizontal to the ground, pointing straight up, and then as the evening goes on, they keep turning over. And so they keep coming up with more and more enhancements or innovations in that technology. I just saw last week they have some now where they're starting to raise them because they track, and so they're raising them up higher so you can actually have livestock grazing underneath them, so the landowner can actually still get usage out of the land. So that's going to be a benefit. If you look at, so the entire delta is good location for solar. Mississippi County is actually the prime location for solar in the state of Arkansas, but Crittenden County is number 2. So that's why you'll see there's another facility. Entergy's going to be taking most of the power out of that, and that's right on I-40. I don't know the name of the town, but
South Crawfordsville.
South Crawfordsville. So you can see it right if you're headed on I-40. It's on the north side of the highway there, and they're getting ready. So all the supports are in. They're getting ready to start putting the panels up. That's going to NextEra is actually building that site, but Entergy's going to be taking most of the power out of that. So we're looking for alternatives to our generation needs in the future, and we're going to have to keep looking for it. Solar's not going to be the sole answer for us, but this is a good first step for us because we have to deal with the closure of those coal-fired plants. So I have reached out to NextEra, and they requested that we wait until they get some of the civil mediation done. So basically it's still a lot of mud and stuff out there, but they're willing to take us on a tour, or anybody that we want on a tour of that facility. So I'll let you guys know when that's available, and we have the opportunity to do that if anybody's interested, and they can talk to us about how it works and so on and so forth. So any questions about Big Cypress? Okay. Thank you.
Bob spoke out there at the commission and did a very good job, I thought. And didn't get blown away by the wind. But if you go out there, that place is huge. What, like 1,600 acres?
Something like that, yeah.
Kind of interesting to talk about raising them up, because that's one of the biggest criticisms of it is it takes up so much space, and why it's not necessarily feasible for Joe Blow to put it on the roof of his house, because you need so much area to make it really.
So when you talk about distributed energy, was what you're talking about, that's what we call rooftop solar, would be distributed energy. And so we have, I think it was in 2020, we approved, the commission approved, and then went before city council, and there's an ordinance on net metering. And what net metering is, if you have distributed energy, rooftop solar or, battery or whatever. So if you can generate power cheaper than the utility can generate power, the utility has to buy it back. And so basically how that settlement works at the end of the month is that the meter, it call it net metering, and you only pay for the net or the difference. So it takes dollars off of what you used for what you're putting back onto the grid. These type of solar facilities that we're talking about here, those are utility scale solar, and when the power comes out of those, it'll come out at transmission voltage, and so then it'll be distributed across the state, or it can go outside of the state at transmission voltage. So a little bit different, but same principle. As the panels keep getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, we will start seeing some distributed energy. It really trends with rates. Rates and reliability are the two things that it will trend with. So if you have higher rates and poor reliability on your utility grid, you tend to see a bigger influx of utility scale solar coming into your service area. And the reason is folks tired of being in the dark or paying high bills, right? So they'll come up with another option. If you don't have high rates and it's kind of a wash for folks, unless they're getting a government subsidy, it doesn't really make sense for a lot of folks to do that, which is why we don't see a lot of that in our service area, because our rates are extremely competitive. As the panels get cheaper and more and more tax credits are available for renewable energy, you'll start to see more and more of them, which presents a whole different set of challenges to us. So it really presents a lot of challenges for Mike and his team, because as the solar, it's always working, right? So those panels are always generating power, whether it's coming back onto the grid or not. And so having a net metering capability, that means they have the ability to put power back on our grid. So when Mike gets into a situation, or his team gets into a situation where we have wires down, our transformers work both ways. If you put low voltage into the transformer, you get high voltage out the top. They're designed to put high voltage in and get low voltage out. But if you have a wire down and somebody's solar facility is not functioning correctly, we could re-energize that wire through the solar facility, and there's no way to turn it off. So we have to be really diligent when we get a lot of that distributed energy coming into our system to make sure that they're in compliance with our construction standards, because it is definitely a safety hazard for our employees.
So is it illegal to do that without a permit?
Yeah.
In West Memphis, I mean, we have that in place.
We have an ordinance in place for net metering, and then there's construction standards. So there's an addendum to the net metering that lists the standards. And so yes is the answer to your question. So the planning department has started a new committee. I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, Brett, and Brett is our representative on this committee, and we're working with the planning department on approving drawings and making sure that what they approve, that we're comfortable with it. We kind of got them a little bit away from that, and we're having some challenges where drawings are getting approved and they're probably not what we want from the utility side, and so we're just working through that. So we have a committee now, and Brett's on that committee, and we're going to make sure that any kind of new construction or anything that's approved, it meets the utility requirements as well.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Definitely.
The distributed energy?
Yes,
Yeah, it is.
absolutely. I mean, you think about that aspect of it. Here you go, think you're doing a good thing, and then power goes down, the guys go out to work on the line.
But we still have to provide them power
Yeah.
in case it's cloudy for 2 weeks.
Well, there's not that many either, so you can go back and make
Now
sure
there's
you're
not, but
right.
it's
But
5
at
years
least
from now.
you're setting that standard, so moving forward, they'll be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a public safety issue as well, right? I mean, so most of our lines are accessible to the general public. We had one, I mean, you know, most folks know that they're not supposed to touch down power lines, but if it's dark and they don't see it, well, whatever, lots of things could happen.
If you're the power company and you control the switch and you turn the switch off and that line is still hot because somebody's feeding, it's,
It happens with distributed energy, and it happens a lot in storm situations where folks are out. We have an ice storm and folks are out for an extended period of time and they improperly hook up the generator will do exactly the same thing. And so it's
a two-way street.
It absolutely is. And so, you know, we're gonna, as we move forward, we'll start doing more education about things like hooking generators up in the storm. So I'm going to talk in a minute about, well, I can just talk about it now. I mentioned at the last Utility Commission meeting about the town halls that we're going to be having, the town hall meetings that we're going to have. So our first one is this Tuesday, April 16th. Everyone is welcome to be there. It's going to be at 6 o'clock at Wonder Junior High School. In the first one we're going to talk about rates. And there's a lot of, the purpose of it is to just educate folks as to what, everyone's unhappy when they get an electric bill or utility bill, right? Everyone's unhappy. But if you look at where West Memphis Utilities is positioned in terms of rates, I have the data in my office, but there's 36 utilities in Arkansas, operating in Arkansas, and that's between municipals, cooperatives, and investor-owned, but there's 36 utilities. West Memphis has the 5th lowest electric rates in the state, and we have the lowest water rates in the state. So the difference between Jonesboro is number 2. The difference between Jonesboro and West Memphis is 0.5 cent. So we're extremely competitive. We're right there, and so, but it's having that narrative with our customers. To put it into perspective for you, if you live in Marion, you're going to pay 5 cents a kilowatt hour more than you do in West Memphis. So what a kilowatt hour is the amount of energy that it takes to run. It's 1,000 watts for 1 hour. So we charge 9.4 cents, and Entergy charges 13 cents. So it's about 40% higher on your electric rate if you live in Marion than it is in West Memphis. And it's always easier to have that conversation with our customers when they're not upset about the bill. Terry can tell you what it's like to have a conversation with our customer when they're upset about a bill. And so what we want to do is we want to get out and talk to them about that. We want to talk to them about, hey, we're a nonprofit, right? We don't, our rates just cover our expenses. That's our whole purpose. Talk to them a little bit about that. And so that's going to be our first one. So that one will be, and then we're just going to field questions and just kind of talk to people. One of the purposes of that is just we wanted to really, the utility, if we're not out communicating with our customers, right, we're just the big bad utility that exists and just costs them a lot of money. But we want to get out and we want to communicate with our customers. We want to talk to them. We want to make sure that they can express their concerns, that they can express their upsetness for whatever it is, and then just kind of talk through things. But we want to make sure that the facts that they're operating from are accurate. So our first one's going to be about rates. We haven't done one yet, so we're going to see what kind of attendance we get at the first one. I think it's probably based on Joel's not in here, but Joel said that it's already, he's seen a lot of things on Facebook about it already. And so I think we'll probably have a lot of attendance. My hope is that if you're able as commissioners that you can be there to help represent the utility. But we're just going to have an open, honest conversation with folks right now about rates. The next one that I want to do is I want to talk about how we restore power in a storm, what we do to prepare for storms, how we get ready when we know something's coming in, how we address those things. And then, then we'll talk about some of the improvements that we're doing at our wastewater plant, and really just get out and talk to our customers, and we'll see how that goes. I'm sure we'll make adjustments and changes along the way. I'm gonna bring some food to this first one to try to bribe more people.
Food's always a
I
good
think it's an
idea.
That's always a good idea, right?
Yeah.
90% of the comments that I'm aware of are based on either wrong information or lack of information.
Correct.
And people don't realize it, and I tried to say something, I said, no way. And,
Yeah.
The comment is, lights are out, they don't give me a credit on my bill when my lights go out. Or how come his lights are on first, mine, I'm right across the street. Or I'm next door and they got his on 3 days ago, but mine are still out. People don't,
Yep.
they just don't understand how it works.
So in a meeting, so the lights are out and how we turn them back on, we'll be talking about that one when we talk about how we restore power. But to your point about the credit on the bill, I've heard that multiple times since I've been here. Deion's smiling and Terry is smiling, and I guarantee you they've heard that. But, you know, a lot of folks think that we're like the telephone company or we're like the cable company where they just pay a flat rate. And just talking to folks about, hey, we just charge you for what you use, right? And our rates are extremely competitive compared to other entities across the state of Arkansas. So we'll see how that first one goes. I'm very hopeful that it's going to go really well. And it's just going to help, I think, have the utility be more transparent, help improve those relationships with our customers. Hopefully that will help Terry and her team not have to field as many disgruntled, upset customers, which they do a great job at it because it happens way more than you would think. But we're going to try to address some of those concerns before they happen. Okay.
Next item on the agenda is, anybody have any questions? Next item on the agenda is lift station upgrade, update.
We swapped, so I think it's
I think we got
okay.
backwards.
yeah, we got it backwards.
Oh, okay.
See that little thing up there where it says play from current slide?
Here, I'm seeing it better than I do.
A lot of us
See a little
things up there.
I'm gonna do it yet, right?
So Paul gave you a better understanding of what we've been talking about the wastewater treatment plant. I'm just here to show you what has happened since March. So last March, when I was talking to you, they only had the 2 clarifiers wall slabs built. They have gotten to where you can see the third one up there at the top. And here's where we are on the third one. They've gotten one half of the slab poured and pretty much about half of the walls done. Here's how you can see on the inside what they're doing. Did that not work? And there's on the outside, they've got that one done. They've started working on laying the second half of that slab, and I haven't heard from them on how long that's gonna take. What with the rain, they got cut off working on it. So Paul told you about the aerators. They're all 4 in and work and running. And they've gotten to their second section of this caisson. They've been pouring it in like sections. They put in one section and they sunk it, and then they're building up the next section and they're sinking it. So this was April 2nd, and this last one was taken April 5th. So that's how much they have gotten to on sinking it since then.
So one of the things that's relevant about that caisson is that was a suggestion from our contractor to change our design, and I don't know if you want to get into that and talk about how much money that's saving us.
I don't have that on me
Okay.
at the moment.
So the contractor that's doing the project made a suggestion to sink this caisson versus how we had the project engineered. And we took their suggestion, and I'm not exactly, but it's saving us a significant amount of money. So that's a good thing, right? So we're modifying some of our construction plans, and this will, where Paul talked about pumping water out of his pond or pumping water into his pond, that's where the pumps are gonna go in this. So based on the original design, this is a modification, but this will help save us some time.
Is it a help on investment or a help on operation, as far as saving the money?
On the construction costs.
Construction costs.
Paul, will these pumps replace those screw pumps?
Well, actually, we replaced those screw pumps with a T10 Gorman Rupp. They're no
okay.
longer there.
Oh, okay.
So we got one pump we currently using to get water out of the pond. And what's gonna go in there is 2 dry pit submersibles. So we'll have 2 pumps.
So you have a backup.
Yes.
And
They've been digging out and working on demolishing the sewage intake, and they're gonna build a new one. Just because that one, from what I saw when I first came in, was mostly just covering weeds and stuff. And I guess they're digging it out and building one for us. That's just where they were. There we go.
Okay. Have anything else?
I don't know, Brett, if you want to just give it, so, because of all the weather that we've had in the last couple of days.
Oh, yeah,
a quick update about the
Yeah.
flood.
All right, so, yeah, we started finally getting some rains. I mean, we've basically been in a drought for 10 months. And some of the work that we've done, like we spoke about this last meeting, utilities kind of taking over, maintaining the flood pond pumps and all the little satellite pumping stations along the ditches. We're getting some water today. It's going to allow us to do some testing on some of these pumps, that it was basically dry in the ditches whenever we were trying to test it back in the summer, and basically all last year. We're out deployed. I know I missed a phone call, kind of getting an update on where they're at right now with testing. We put a new control panel in and controls for one of the fault pump station, and it had not been tested. Today's the first time it's getting tested. We're basically trying to push some water into our flood pond right now because the ditches are so jammed up with vegetation that it's just not flowing. When I went to the flood pond this morning, there was barely any water that was really coming in, despite the fact you may see water standing in the fields and all around the town here. It's not getting into the flood pond. It's starting to very slowly, and with turning these pumps on, we're going to try to push it and get a feel until we can get some ditches mopped out, what kind of time frame it takes to move water. I mean, because it's a constant changing thing. As this vegetation keeps growing in the ditches, it slows that water flow down, and trying to time when we need to be turning pumps on. We're kind of on it this morning with what water we're getting out of this rain, and getting some testing done and trying to move some water. And I know there's probably already been some folks that have seen a little bit of water backing up in the streets and stuff, and I can assure you it has to be drainage in the streets, and it's not getting into the ditches, because the ditches are not just slap full, and the flood pond has got a little bit of water. We got maybe an hour's worth of running there, and then it'd be empty. We'd have to shut it off and let it fill back up again. So we've got a lot of capacity at the flood pond. It's just getting that water there. We're facilitating some of that with turning these little satellite pumps on today. So I still think we're in good shape. We're just doing some preliminary work, trying to figure out where we need to be if we do get a really bad 5-6 inch rain or something.
So now that we have all the pumps operational and we get them all tested, the next course of action will be to make sure that all the flap gates are operational, to where we can control water coming in from outside the city, till we can get on top of it with our pumps, and then we can strategically let water in. So a lot of them aren't right now, so we're kind of at the mercy of whatever comes at us. But now that we have the pumps operational and we're going through our testing today, we'll we'll get all those flap gates operational, and we'll be working with the city to make sure that we get the ditches mopped out to where we can actually control the flow water.
I was wondering about that. Noticed it's kind of
Yeah, we still have,
fuzzy in there.
we still have capacity to move a lot of water if we need to. We actually have 2 of the 1,000 horse pumps and motors down there that they're operational, they're ready to go, and they will move a bunch of water in a short amount of time. We have 1 that needs to be pulled and sent off, have some repair. We got 1 back. It's not completely together and tested, so we wouldn't want to run it, but we have a 400 and a 100 pump too. So we basically have 4 pumps down there that we can turn on today, and it would empty that pond just like that. Like I said, the main thing is getting the water in the pond to be able to pump it out.
So the utility is managing the pumps, right? It's what we do, right? We do lift stations and, you know, we move water. That's one of our things that we're good at. So we've taken over the maintenance and the management of all the pump stations and flood control too. So that's kind of why we're talking about it at a commission meeting, but we're going to continue to do ongoing maintenance on that. So Maria and her controls team, they got out and they got all the pumps working. There were some of them that weren't working, and they're now all operational. The only thing we had left was just testing. So we did now on the controls.
Now we got water to test them.
Now we have water to test them.
Do we have anything else to come before us?
Do you guys have anything, Denise, Terry?
Well, I do. We have a lot of trees in our neighborhood, but I noticed that there's no wire or anything that would prevent those leaves from going into the street gutters. I didn't know, do we ever have any kind of plan to put any kind of protection?
Talk about in the storm sewers?
Here's the problem, if you put screens on them, it stops those leaves and the streets flood.
Okay.
Yeah, the leaves basically build a dam on the
Right.
screen. Is that the same problem on my patio? It drains.
Yeah.
And the leaves, and the water starts to rise as you step out my back door onto the patio. Scoop the
Okay,
leaves
so it's
over.
more trouble than it's, okay.
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
Ideally, you want to have your stormwater to where it can handle that type of stuff going in. So our pumps can move it. It's just getting it to continue moving. And so that's one of the challenges Brett was talking about. There's so much vegetation in the ditches that the water's not moving in the ditches. So we have to get in there, and it's vegetation, but there's, you know, down trees, logs, shopping carts, you name it. It's all in there,
It's
and it clogs it
not
up.
always, but a limb can get in that gutter and the leaves stack up against it, and that floods the street. And a couple of things, it's, all you gotta do is go out there with a hoe or rake and pull that limb out.
The key is just making sure that the flow continues, right?
Yeah.
So you just want to make sure that water keeps moving. And if you get an obstruction, then we just got to get that obstruction out of it. But that's kind of what we're talking about on the ditch system that we're running. It's from not enough maintenance over the years on it. And ideally, you know, in the ditches, you don't want trees in there. So, you know, we would, as we start cleaning them out and mopping them out, we'll dig all the vegetation out of the bottom, and then we'll have crews go in and remove the trees. The trees hang stuff up, or they fall down, and they cause it, and you can't maintain it. You have a lot of trees in there, it becomes extremely difficult to go in. Ideally, if you get all the trees removed and then you want to do ongoing maintenance, you mow it, right? And so that way it doesn't wash all that out and clog something up, which is the big challenge that we're having right now. But you know, it's one of those things where you have to do it when you can get in there to do it, because when it's flooded, it's too late, right? And you can't control it, you can't do anything with it. And then that water inundates the city, and we can't keep up on top of it. And like I was talking about before, you have all this water coming in from the county, and we'll deal with it eventually, right? Because it has to go through the city, but we want to keep it out there until we can get the city protect it and on top of it, and then strategically let it into the city to where we can make sure that we can bump it over the levee, to where we don't flood anything in the city.
Okay, I'd just like to say, I'm glad to be back home in this road. For about 2 years since we met in here. Anybody else have anything?
Thank you,
Mrs.
Paul.
Brown? We have a motion to adjourn? Have a motion to adjourn, do we have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Holmes, all in favor? Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you, everyone.